Hello, and welcome to another episode of Friday Reads. In Friday Reads, we go over the books that I've recently read, the books I'm currently reading, and the books that I have recently added to my TBR, my physical TBR, in the hopes that it will inspire me not to keep purchasing books, but as you will see, it is not doing such a good job. So let's go ahead and get started with the books that I finished. This weekend I finished Libby Lost and Found. Was it this weekend or earlier this week? I don't remember, but I did finish it, by Stephanie Booth, and I keep changing my mind between a 3.5 star or a 3 star, and I think at the moment I'm leaning more towards a 3 star, partially because I don't think about it unless I'm looking at it. So with Libby Lost and Found, we follow Libby Weeks, who is an author of a best-selling fantasy series, writing as the author FT Gold Hero to maintain her privacy. With her final manuscript overdue for the series, she is actually diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And before she forgets everything about her books, she decides, and she's been struggling with writer's block, she decides to go to her super fan, Peanut Bixton, an 11-year-old little girl, and basically get her help with finishing this story. Now, Peanut is an interesting character because she lives in this world where the books that FT Gold Hero has written are fact, even though they are fantasy. And the events of her life make her feel like these books were written about her specifically and about her town and all of that. So anyway, Libby goes to Peanut's hometown to meet with Peanut in order to finish this book, and obviously she's got dementia and is struggling with that. So there are a lot of trigger warnings in this, but also they were done in a way that I don't think was triggering. I don't know if that makes any sense. I think that it could have been a much more powerful read, but it wasn't. And there was also like quite a bit that confused me. Maybe it was left unfinished. Maybe there were things that were taken out. I don't know. But there's this whole plot line where Peanut's storyline, like her life and the town that she lives in and all the characters there, they are eerily similar to Libby's stories. And it's never addressed, like ever, the fact that they're so eerily similar. Like there's no, Libby was there. It just poof, nothing. And it feels kind of unfinished in that aspect. Also, I'm still not sure what was real and what wasn't, because since Libby has dementia, she's not sure what's real and what's not, and Peanut lives in this imaginary world in her head, so you're not sure what's real and what's not from her perspective. So it was a little confusing to figure out what was going on, and what I thought was going on, by the end of the book, I was like, wait, is that not what's going on? So I was a little confused by it, and for that reason, I really think I'm leaning towards a 3 star. I wanted to love this book a lot more than I did, and it was related to, or it was blurbed as being like lessons in chemistry and remarkably bright creatures. I can see the connection to remarkably bright creatures, but done less well. Lessons in chemistry, I don't see it, not even a little bit. So I read it. It is what it is. All right, so the books that I'm currently reading. Earlier this week, I picked up Shogun by James Clavell. This is the story of a British pilot in the 1600s who ends up in Japan and is captured and then becomes a samurai somehow. I have not made it very far in this book. I am about 25 pages in. I'm going to continue to give it a try throughout the month when I have time to pick it up. But being perfectly honest, I don't think this is the book for me. We're reading it for Big Book Month over at Books Are Sick Book Club with Nick. I will tag his channel down below. And I kind of wish The Stand had won because this is not doing it for me. If it doesn't work for me, I'll give it to my mom and her husband because they were like very excited that I was going to read this for some reason. I don't know whether it's the writing style. I don't know whether it's the genre, but I'm having a really hard time with it. So I am kind of soft DNFing it for now. Not quite, but like kind of. And I have picked up Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. Now, I know very little about this except that it is about this lesbian couple, and one of the wives, she went like to sea and like in a submarine or something. Maybe she's a marine biologist, I don't know. And something happened to her and she's not the same person. So there's this like mysterious aspect to it. It's written very beautifully and I am enjoying it. I made it about 2 or 3 chapters in last night before I finally gave up and went to sleep. But yes, I am reading that at night on my Kobo, and I am actually leaving to the beach for a book retreat with my Phi Mu book club, and I want to take a specific book with me. I will show you that in a minute. But I decided to pick up a short little novella that I can finish in one day, so that way I can start a brand new book when I go there. So I am picking up Kappa by Ryunosuke Akutagawa. This follows a mental patient who swears that he went up into the mountains for a hike and saw some kappas, and it's supposed to be very similar to like Alice in Wonderland meets Gulliver's Travels. Very interesting. I'm not very far. I've read like 2 chapters before my son woke up, so it's gonna be a fast read. I can tell. It's only 82 pages and there's page spaces between the chapters, and the chapters are so short, like 2-3 pages long. So really excited to read that one and get it off of my TBR, because it has been a while since I've gotten a book off my physical TBR, and it is time, especially because I keep adding to the physical TBR. So 2 new books and a DNF, and I finished 1 book, so that was really great. And Libby Lost and Found will be the last of the library books I read for March. So we're now in April and it's a new month. I don't know whether I'm going to ask for a, I don't know if I'm going to ask to renew the library books that I haven't finished, maybe like 2 of them, and the rest I'm going to give back without reading them, just because I have quite the TBR this month. So we'll see how that goes. All right, next up are the books that I recently picked up. Now, so there was a book fair this weekend, and I went. And when there's a book fair, you buy books. It's just what you do. So there were 4 different vendors that I bought books from. One was the independent bookstore that was the main vendor for the thing, and then there were like these little independent like things. So one of them was this group that is really promoting banned books, and it's called Liberation is Lit. I went to one of their little book fairs recently and picked up a couple of things, but they had some more and I like to support them. So I picked up Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is a book that I have read before but is not on my shelf, and I loved it so much that I want to A, reread it, and B, have a trophy copy. So I went ahead and I picked up Normal People because apparently it's a banned book, and I'm very sad about this because it is so good. How could it be, like, why is it banned? I don't understand. So went ahead and I picked up Normal People from them, And then I went to, there was this other stand that had, what was it for? I don't know, did they give me a thing? I can't remember what it was for, but they had a bunch of like used books that were for sale. And a lot of it was promoting female authors and women. And so I picked up 2 books. I picked up Dancing at the Edge of the World, Thoughts on Words, Women and Places by Ursula K. Le Guin. And I think that this is nonfiction. I've been looking to increase my nonfiction library, so I'm really excited about that one. And the other book I picked up, because it was buy one, get one, was Lakota Woman by Mary Crow Dog, with Richard Erdros. I don't know. I guess it is a, it's an autobiography about a woman, a Native American woman. So really, really interested to read this. As you guys may or may not know, I really love stories about Indigenous culture. And so I'm curious to read from a woman's perspective, growing up on a reservation and all of that. It says, Lakota Woman is a unique document unparalleled in American Indian literature, a story of death, of determination against all odds, and of the cruelties perpetrated against American Indians during the last several decades. It is also a deeply moving account of a woman's triumphant struggle to survive in a hostile world. So very interested to read that. I think it's going to be a hard read, but I'm really excited about it. And then the last little vendor that I went to that was not the main bookseller was the Queer Bookstore. They just opened up a little independent queer bookshop, and I picked up Greta and Valdine, and I keep seeing this book, and first of all, I absolutely love the cover. I think it's so clever and so well done. So Clay Smith, good job. But this is about, I'll read the little tiny blurb up here, which is why I picked it up. Greta and Valdine is the rare story to live up to its fearless promotional copy, which calls it a cross between Schitt's Creek and Normal People. Perhaps that sounds impossible. That's what makes it so good. So I absolutely love Schitt's Creek, and as we just discussed, I love Normal People. So I am hoping that this will be a phenomenal book for me. Greta and Valdine careens us through the siblings' misadventures and the dramas, big and small, of their sprawling, eccentric Maori Russian Catalonian family. So it's like a family story, like Schitt's Creek, obviously. And then also I'm assuming there's some weird romance, weird lit fic romance, which I'm all about. So I'm planning to get to this soon. I really, really want to pick that up, and I was really happy to support that bookshop. And then my local indie bookshop was the main seller for for the book fair that is All Good Books over in Columbia, or Five Points. And there were 3 panelists that I had been interested in seeing talk. Of course, I had my son with me, so I wasn't able to see them talk, and I wasn't able to get my copies signed, but I went ahead and I bought the books anyway because I am interested in them. The first book I picked up was Symphony of Secrets by Brendan Slocum. This is about Professor Bern Hendricks, who has just received the call of a lifetime to authenticate the long-lost masterpiece of Frederick Delaney, arguably the greatest composer since Beethoven. Back in 1920s Manhattan, struggling musician Freddie Delaney meets Josephine Reed. Josephine is living on the streets, sneaking into jazz clubs and writing every genre of music. It's clear she's a natural, and Freddie convinces her to work with him. In the present, Bern teams up with tech-savvy Ebony Washington, and the two begin to uncover clues indicating Delaney may have had help composing his most successful works. Caught in the crosshairs of a powerful organization determined to keep its secret hidden, Bern and Ebony will move heaven and earth in their dogged quest to discover the truth about Josephine's legacy and right history's wrongs. So this is talking about race and privilege and the lengths to which people in power will go to manipulate history. And it sounds absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to read it. I'm not really a huge audiophile, but I do enjoy music. And somehow I have a feeling this book is going to make me want to listen to more music. So that was one of the panelist who was there. The next panelist was Delana R.A. Dameron. This is a breathtaking, oh, and her book was Redwood Court. It was actually picked for Reese's Book Club pick at one point. And it is a breathtaking debut about one unforgettable Southern Black family seen through the eyes of its youngest daughter as she comes of age in the 1990s. And if I'm not mistaken, the author is actually from South Carolina. Yeah, her home state of South Carolina. Because she came in and signed a bunch of copies at the bookstore. Of course, this is not one of them, but she did do that at one point. So anyway, this book, honestly, I don't have any other information about it, but I'm looking to diversify my library. And this is, I typically really like the Reese's Book Club picks. And the bookstore generally has some really good recommendations, and they kept recommending this. So I'm going to go ahead and read that at some point. And then another panelist that was going to be there was Patty Callahan Henry, who wrote The Secret Book of Flora Lee. She actually had another newer book there, but this one was in softcover, and I do prefer softcovers to hardcovers. Fun fact. And this is about a woman stumbling across a mysterious children's book. Long-held secrets about her missing sister and their childhood spent in the English countryside during World War II are revealed. So it is a World War II historical fiction, kind of, sort of, which is not typically my jam, but I've heard phenomenal things about it, and I want to give it a shot. I'm not really a World War II historical fiction person. I tend to stay away from it just because I've read too much of it at this point, but I do want to give this book a try. If I don't like it, I know lots of people who will, and I have heard that it is phenomenal. I'm pretty sure this was a book of the month pick at one point. So really excited to give that a shot. And then, because I just couldn't help myself, this cover popped out at me. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's just like all these florals with this green alligator popping through it. And it is called Hellions Stories. It is blurbed by Carmen Maria Machado and Jeff Vandermeer. Carmen Maria Machado says, I am obsessed with these lush, feral stories. And Jeff Vandermeer says, astonishing. So it is from the acclaimed author of The Wilds, come an electric story collection that blends folklore, fairy tales, Southern Gothic, and horror, reveling in the collision of the familiar and the wildly surreal. So I love me some Gothic horror. I love fairy tales and folklore. I think this is going to be a really good fit for me. I'm really excited about it, and this cover is just stunning. So this is, the author is Julia Elliott. The title is Hellions Stories. It is a collection of short stories, which I am hoping to get into this year. I think I've got one, two, funnily enough, one by Carmen Maria Machado. I got one, two, and this would be 3 collections of short stories that I want to get through this year. Yeah, so really excited about this one. Then I had done a bunch of pre-orders on the Barnes & Noble's pre-order discount day thing, and one of them was Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This is going to be a book club pick for FIMU, so I went ahead and I pre-ordered it because I knew I was going to need it. It's beautiful, actually. Hold on, let me take off the cover. The end papers say everything starts with you and ends with you. So it's got some pretty end pages, and it's so pink. I love it. But essentially this one is a second chance romance, I think. They met, they fought, then they fell hard. There might be no such thing as a perfect guy, but Xavier Rush comes disastrously close. A gorgeous veterinarian giving Greek god vibes, all while cuddling a tiny kitten? Immediately, yes. That is until Xavier opens his mouth and proves that even sculpted gods can say the absolute wrong thing. Of course, there's nothing Samantha loves more than proving an asshole wrong. Unless, of course, he can admit he made a mistake. But after one incredible and seemingly endless date, possibly the best in living history, Samantha is forced to admit the truth, that her family is in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible. Samantha begs Xavier to forget her, to remember their night together as a perfect moment, as crushing as that may be. Only no amount of distance or time is nearly enough to forget that something between them. And the only thing better than one single perfect memory is to make a life, and even a love, worth remembering. So I've only read one Abby Jimenez book. I have been told to read some other ones because the one that I read is not a good depiction of her writing. I will do that, starting with this book. I think this is a standalone. Most of hers are like interconnected standalones, and this one is not connected to anything. So I hope that's true because I like to read them in order. But yeah, the one book that I read by her, I was not thrilled with. But supposedly she writes very similar to Emily Henry in the fact that her stories tend to read more like women's fiction, literary fiction with a hint of romance in them, or like a large romantic subplot. So we will see if that is true. I'm really excited to read it with my book club though, because that will be a lot of fun. And then I am also doing this thing where I read all of the Reese Witherspoon picks for this year to see whether I really do love all of her books or not, whether she has good choices. And the one for April is All That Life Can Afford by Emily Everett. This one is about Anna, who fell in love with London at her hometown library. It's Jane Austen Falls, a far cry from her life of food stamps and hand-me-downs. But when she finally arrives after college, the real London is a moldy apartment and the same paycheck-to-paycheck grind, that fairy tale life still out of reach. Then Anna meets the Wilders, who fly her to Saint-Tropez to tutor their teenage daughter. Swept up by the Sphinx-like elder sister, Anna soon finds herself plunged into a heady whirlpool of parties and excess, a place where confidence is a birthright. There she meets two handsome young men, one who wants to whisk her into his world in a chauffeured car, and the other who sees through Anna's struggle to outrun her past. It's like she's stepped into the pages of a glittering new novel. But what will it cost her to play the part? Sparkling with intelligence and insight, All That Life Can Afford peels back the glossy layers of class and privilege, exploring what it means to create a new life for yourself that still honors the one you've left behind. So this sounds really good. I think it's going to be right up my alley. The cover is really cool too. Don't know who did the cover, but I really like it. Let's see. Ashley Tucker. Good job, Ashley. It sounds really good, and it sounds like the perfect beach read. So this is the book that I am taking with me to the beach this weekend. I am so excited to read it. I think it's going to be such a good time. Yeah. Very excited to take this one to the beach with me. So yeah, that's it. Books we finished, books we started, and books we picked up. That is a wrap on my Friday reads. If you have read any of these books before, please leave a comment down below. And if you have not, oh, we're going to the beach. Leave a little emoji of the beach for me, just to let me know you were here if you have nothing else that you want to say, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.